All right, then I guess we can get started. Welcome everybody to the Gardner Technical Steering Committee meeting. We are meeting today for GEP-0043, running Spegel support and the registry-cache extension. There was already a session in February, a couple of months back. And I think there we ended the meeting with the question whether to run Spegel as a daemon set or as a systemd unit. And we wanted to explore both approaches in the end, and also try the daemon set approach, mention it in the document, more prominently outline both approaches with the pros and cons, and then have this follow-up meeting to discuss the results and the way forward, basically. Yeah, I think we can get started right away with the discussion.
Yes.
Also,
should I share my screen?
If you want, maybe you can say a word to the mentioned follow-up items, so the daemon set approach and what has happened in the past, and what is the proposal now.
Okay. Share. I need to grant access for the Zoom to share my quit only open. So I should quit the Zoom in order to apply this permission for sharing the screen.
Sure. You're muted now.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. And hope you can see my screen now. Perfect. Okay, let's start with the evaluation. Actually, there are 4 different POC branches that I created. So the first one is the current proposal. It is based on systemd unit, and actually currently it uses HTTP bootstrapper, but yeah, I contributed this logic from external bootstrapper into HTTP bootstrapper, so you can go ahead with this approach. No blocker from the Spegel side currently. So the pros for this approach is that we can cover all the images pulled by the kubelet, and yeah, the cons are no visibility in Kubernetes, but this can be improved. And this does not cover images pulled by the Gardner node agent in its service. Not only in it, but there are actually 4 images that cannot be covered currently. So the second one, so we use standard Spegel deployment. We use daemon set. Spegel is deployed as a daemon set on the shoot cluster. And unfortunately, the process that we have improved visibility in Kubernetes, monitoring, debugging, and so on, resource reservations, especially. And the cons are that it doesn't cover most of the images in the kube system namespace. And currently with the registry cache extension, we have the same problem, and we want to actually to cover these images. Okay, it also does not cover the images pulled by the GNA. So the third option is the same as the the second one, but here I used this custom bootstrapper, but the results are the same, no change. So again, we could not cover the most of the images in the kube system namespace. And finally, I tried option where I input Spegel binary into the so to say machine image of the local setup, and using this approach, we can cover all the images put by the kubelet and by the Gardener node agent. But yeah, disclaimer here that in order to be able to implement this to make it production, we need Spegel binary in the machine images. So I think in the near future it's not a feasible option, but just for the test, I also evaluate this one. Okay, so there are some questions in the here in the pull request. I try to answer all of them. So if you have other questions, or if you want to recap the overall architecture, or
Okay. So just to summarize, so the proposal is basically to not run it as a daemon set, but use the systemd approach, and mainly for the rationale that this saves kind of 200 megabytes of image downloads per node, right?
Yeah,
Yes,
exactly.
the other motivation is also that if we also cover the kubelet images, our vision was that we make the extension at some point enabled by default for all the shoots. If we don't cover the kube system images pulled by kubelet, then we cannot do this. It doesn't make any sense. This global unconditional enablement.
Okay, yeah, then let's start right into open questions from the audience.
Can I have one follow-up question on that? So when you say running it as a daemon set wouldn't allow caching the images of the kube system pods, that's also only true for the bootstrapping phase, correct? So once the node has been fully bootstrapped and Spegel is available, when updating those images in the kube system namespace, it would be able to profit from the cache. Is that correct?
No, actually, if a new node joins cluster, so you mean that once the images are already in container image store, of course they can be reused on the very same node. So there is no need of Spegel. But if a new node is joining the cluster, then the new node cannot pull these images because the Spegel is not ready. It needs so it needs kubedns to be accessible, and service also should be accessible. It means that the
What network needs to be set up, the kube proxy has to be running so that
the service
I
network should be.
I think there's a misunderstanding. I think Tim is focusing on a separate use case. So basically, I mean, for sure, if you run it as a daemon set, you will have a problem with bootstrapping. So it cannot cache anything until it is running and until it is available, basically also with a pod network. But basically, if we update some other component afterwards, so basically you have a node running, and once it is running, for example, you upgrade, I don't know, Calico node or kube-proxy or so for whatever reason. So from one patch version to the next one, and the node stays the same. I think Tim's point is that in that case, it should be possible to use the caching. But for new nodes, for the initial download of the images, it's not possible. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's my point, or my expectation.
yeah, once the node is up and running, and afterwards when you update images, yes, you're correct. It will be able to cache them, but I think with this we start to make assumptions about how people are using, because we cannot make assumptions whether the people run with some fixed nodes that don't row enough. You know that we have the cluster out scale where it constantly scales up and down the cluster nodes, the cluster nodes, yes. And yeah, so we don't, with the global enablement, we can cover all the kube system images for all the shoots and all the cluster nodes, but we now starting narrowing down and not covering all the general use case.
It was mentioned that this approach also has some limitation of cannot cache images larger than 200 megabytes. Why is this so? And it is not a limitation in the systemd unit implementation.
So what limitation?
That's the 200 megabyte size of the images when it is running as a daemon set.
No, this is the sum of all of the images that are pulled from the upstream and not from the Spegel registry. It's not a single image.
If I understand correctly, that's the overhead of or the cache miss, so to say, for when running it in as a daemon set.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, thanks. Considering that we already have quite some systemd units and the recent improvements and features in the Gartner Node Agent and so on, I don't think we have huge issue with the observability, health checks and so on with the systemd units. Of course, it's more natural to work with Kubernetes objects but for such services, I think it's acceptable to run them as systemd units. So having in mind also the advantages of this approach, and that we already have some POCs working and so on, I do not see why we would now change it and switch to daemon set approach.
In the document, you linked some FAQs from the Spegel website about drawbacks, but at least for me, the link was invalid. But from the link, I could guess that the title is something like, "What should I do if other pods are scheduled on new nodes before Spegel?" But the respective section seems to have been removed from the FAQ.
So you mean this link was removed, but actually the recommendation was to use a controller similar to one that we have, and I tried to use it. Actually, when kubelet register a node, it put obtained an obtained no, I think it was not ready. I don't know the exact order, but yeah, and afterward, when the system critical components are started, then the taint is removed from this controller. I think Tim Ebert points me to this one, and of course in the POCs that we implement, we use it because we deploy Spegel as a system critical component, but there are other components, and that's why this 20 megabytes per node could not be pulled from the Spegel registry. There is no way to enforce Spegel to be first, and even if we can do this, it could not work because the service network is not set up, because the probably the kube DNS is not accessible at this moment. So
Yeah, but that I was just wondering why they removed this from the drawbacks FAQ. Okay. Another question that I had was, so you were right that even with the systemd approach, we cannot cover the images that are in the operating system config in these files image refs.
yes.
Do you have any ideas how this could be covered in the future?
Yes. So if I go back to the this summary. So the only option I know is if we somehow include the Spegel binary in the machine image. And
yeah, but this is no option because we don't control machine images. So I was rather thinking into the direction to install Spegel first. Maybe the first thing that Node Agent does, something like this.
Yeah, probably, but there is user data when the new machine is created, and if we increase the size of the scripts, like some script that will download the Spegel binary and so on, then I'm afraid that we will exceed this 16K size, for example, for AWS. And we also know that in OpenStack, this is configurable, but at least some customers also uses this 16K user data size.
Kim?
I think the limitation we are talking about is again only applying to node bootstrapping, correct? Because Gardener Node Agent also uses containerd to pull the images, is that correct?
Yes.
So if that's correct, I would understand that after configuring the mirror to Spegel for the first time initially, consequent pulls from the OSC configuration will also go through Spegel.
Yes.
So,
Mm,
meaning
hope
if we
so.
ever need to update OpenTelemetry collector and Tail or whatever, those images will also be cached.
Mm-hmm.
No?
The update
Actually,
tail, I think it will be cached, but like if the node is existing, can you just update the version? But the initial bootstrap case, I'm not sure. I think the point of Dimitar was that we don't have ordering, or yeah, we actually have ordering, like with this system unit terms, like, and I think we start Spiegel after containerd and kubelet Dimitar, right?
no. Spiegel depends on containerd, so containerd should be first, then Spiegel, then kubelet. Because Spegel uses the containerd events and containerd image store.
So my feeling is that this limitation is not very relevant because it's mainly related to bootstrapping. But if we still want to optimize it, we can go down the road that Raphael said with enhancing the logic in Node Agent to prioritize certain systemd units and making sure they run, for example, Spiegel runs before pulling any other images of the OSC.
Yeah, with such change in Node Agent, probably it could be possible, but I didn't test this scenario.
Okay. Yeah, it also, I guess, depends on how the landscape is used. So if you have a lot of shoots that are newly created with a lot of nodes and this goes up and down, maybe it can be beneficial. But of course, it's also quite some effort to design and develop this. And for standard landscapes, probably it's acceptable to not cache the very initial images, but later on, of course, they are cached. So I was just curious if you thought into this direction and you had something in mind. Okay. I have more questions if nobody else wants to. Anybody?
Go ahead.
Okay, so then you wrote something that Spegel Registry will be the first host entry in the host toml file, and that this requires some changes in other extensions to respect this order. And I wanted to know more about that. Don't they just append themselves in the list, or do they really compete with the first index?
Yeah, yes, exactly. Actually, it will require some changes in registry cache itself, but I will do this. And also this image rewriter extension also should be changed a little bit so that because it's not only this underscore default folder, Spiegel will inject its registry as a first entry for other host files, and that's why the extensions like registry-cache and image rewrite extension should respect this change in the configuration. Because at the moment, I don't know how it is exactly in the image rewrite extension, but in the registry cache, we just overwrite everything in the host file for a specific upstream configuration.
Considering the image rewrite extension, I think it's actually mutating the pods and other resources. So is it really relevant for the Spegel extension?
Yes, it is relevant because it also has functionality to provide this mirror configuration in the container D. So that part we should refine somehow to respect the Spegel injection in the host Tomova files.
I guess all of this is done maybe somehow via the operating system config resource.
Yeah.
So
Actually, yes, the current POC provide all the mirror relevant configurations using the OC container D registries. I can try to show you. So here ensure CRI registry should be the function. No, this is additional file.
Yeah, but it's basically these two extensions. One of them you maintain yourself, and the other one you probably can also upgrade it to adapt. And then it's about documenting this in the Spiegel extension somewhere that if this is used in conjunction with others, this embed has to be respected for Spiegel to work properly.
Yes, so what we can do is to fix the extensions that we know that also mutate this CRI config, and we will describe this in the documentation that Spegel will inject its registry as first entry in this configuration.
Okay.
Yeah, just one last remark. I think right now the image writer is skipping, not adding its host Toml configuration for the registry at all. So we could even improve that, like define implicit order between the components. As Dimitar said, first entry should be the Spiegel. Then if there is also a registry cache configured, because Dimitar also wanted to support this, you could enable Spiegel and registry cache for the same cluster because they're two different type of caches. Then the second entry is the registry cache, and the third entry can be the image writer configuration. And after that, container will fall back to the upstream if all.
Yeah, as far as I remember, the current logic in the image writer was to provide configuration only if the file does not already exist. So if such configuration is provided, for example, by the registry cache extension, the image writer will skip this.
Exactly, I share the logic. Yeah, it is skipping. It does not mutate anything if there is already configuration for this upstream. We could enhance that and adapt it to append to the list at the end if there is already a configuration. Right.
Yeah, but it doesn't make much sense to have a registry cache and the image rewriter, because if the registry cache is first, then it is a pull-through cache. It will pull the image from the upstream and will stream to the container D, and there is no sense to yeah. In contrast, Spegel will not pull from the upstream. It will just return not found, and container D will try the next entry or the upstream if no more entries exists.
Okay, I agree in general. Yeah, if we don't think about the corner cases when the pull from the cache fails for some reason, I can agree with it.
And does Spegel also inject its own mirror configuration via this OSC config?
Yes.
It does so, yeah. So
Yeah.
my understanding it is that it has a special naming like this underscore default. So we could teach Gardener Node Agent to use this one first, independent of the order in the OSC, so that other extensions don't need to respect the Spegel, right?
Actually, this underscore default is the configuration of container D. So if no specific configuration for an upstream exists, container D will try the default, uh, the configuration under this underscore default folder.
But if there is a specific configuration for a certain upstream host, Spegel needs to inject its own mirror there as well. Now I got it. Okay, that's where the conflict is. Okay, thanks.
And just one comment for the image write extension. I think it's also valuable to have it together with the Spegel extension.
Yeah.
Because with the image write, you can completely change the upstream registries. So you may want to have shoot clusters in a domain where the typical registry not accessible. So you can.
Yeah, actually, we have a short chat with Tim Musner for this, and if one day we introduce Spegel, then we will see how to proceed with the image rewriter.
So to sum up, you can have with the image rewriter, you can change the registry from A to B, and then with Spegel, you can cache the images from B. So
yes.
Yeah.
Maybe one more question. So there is this, you talked about this discard unpacked layer setting that will be set to false in the container D configuration. And you also talked about that this can fill up the root disk a bit more. So do we have to fear that if we go with enabling this thing for a whole landscape, we will see a couple of nodes whose disk will end up full?
So actually, for clusters that are using machine images different from Garden Linux and SUSE. So probably yes, if this setting by default is set to true. But at least I checked this for Garden Linux and SUSE C host. The setting is false. So there is no impact for landscapes that are using Garden Linux and source.
Yes. Okay, in the end, it's still the decision of the operator to enable this automatically or globally, or it's called these days. But still, it would be interesting. Yeah, what would happen? So the node will just get full and it will be replaced, and that's it.
Yeah,
or...
but how the operator can set this setting to true? So Spegel uses this.
No, I mean the extension, whether the extension is enabled for the whole landscape. Is in control of the operator when they register it in the landscape. And if they don't use it or don't have a lot of clusters with images that already set this setting to false in the container ID, then they should think twice, I guess. I don't know. What should they do? I mean,
yeah, okay, at least we will document this in the Spegel extension documentation, so the operators will be aware of this.
That makes sense. But still, so what is the recommendation if I want to use this feature, but I have the fear that my nodes will get full and people will complain that they don't respond anymore.
So so the option is to use bigger root disk for the VMs. No other options. But as I said, currently, as for my knowledge, so this setting is false.
So if the operator has other operating systems that doesn't set this default value, they can increase the minimum size for machine root disks in the cloud profile, right? So obviously that needs some form of migration and telling users to increase their root disks and so on. But that's probably the best option we can document.
Yeah, probably users should be encouraged to enable it themselves. Only when there's a good percentage, then the operator can auto-enable it as something like that.
Yes,
I agree.
Probably be very good with.
Yeah, we have to make it gradual and in controlled manner, this global enablement. We have to think about it, but maybe with a feature gate, so that it's full in the control of the landscape operator when to enable the global rollout.
Okay. Yeah, let's not go deeper. I think it's valuable to document this. Just that people are aware. But yeah, okay. Okay, I have one last question. So there is this Spegel bootstrapper component running in the shoot control planes that, if I understood correctly, will be contacted by all the Spegel processes on the shoot nodes, right? In order to find the peers and stuff. Is correct?
So the bootstrapper component will be deployed as a control plane component on the seed cluster, and so I uses this Istio native exposure currently.
Yes.
And the nodes should call the bootstrapper.
Yes. And since this is exposed via Istio, the question would be, is there anything we have to consider with respect to additional load on Istio that happens when now all the nodes, especially when this thing is globally enabled for the whole landscape, and all the nodes talk again to some component on the seed? Is this something that is relevant, or?
Yeah, so actually during the bootstrapping, there will be at least one call And during runtime, it's very unlikely, but probably we could fall into a situation where additional peers are needed to fill the gap in the routing table. Then the bootstrapping can be, well, the bootstrap function can be invoked again. But most
Okay,
probably it will be only on only during the node bootstrap, and less likely after that.
Okay. But there's no continuous hammering like the kubelet with the API server.
No.
Yeah. Okay.
And it's also very minimal load in terms of response size, correct?
Yes, actually, what we return is the three. So we will take the list of nodes and we will return the first three nodes at least. This is what is currently done in the DNS bootstrapper. So similar to this logic, the same will be done in the Spegel bootstrapper.
Okay.
There are no other questions regarding this. Maybe one question for future enhancements or possible improvements I was thinking about. If I create a huge cluster, let's say with 200 nodes from the beginning, I guess probably nothing will be cached, or a lot of nodes will not use the cache. So maybe you can think about influencing the machine controller manager or the machine's lifecycle, so that let the cluster firstly create 1, 2, or 2 nodes that will run Spiegel and will serve the cached images to the other many nodes cluster. So this could be a bit beneficial.
Yes, but so at the moment the content is advertised once the event from the container D that image layer exists in the container D image store. So actually, if you create a huge cluster, then probably some layers will pulling some layers will use the cache. But yeah, we could not guarantee that all the images. Probably at some time, maybe all images will exist in the cache.
Especially considering that different worker pools can be running different operating systems, kubelet versions, and so on. Most probably they will eventually use different images, but some of the common one will be at least cached. So this is why I said it could be in the future possible enhancement. And in the end, it might turn out that there is no benefit of doing this, or
So actually, Spiegel is used by a very large cluster, several thousand nodes.
Yeah, but
at least more than 2,000 nodes. And
sure. But the question here was just on the initial setup or on wake up of a cluster when the first nodes are joining to cache the images and serve them for the rest of the nodes when they also try to join.
yeah, but this is what operator can perform. First create, let's say, 10 nodes and then the other nodes.
Usually
sure.
the users do not care about the internals. This is why I say if the extension could influence the MCM either by controlling the replicas in the machine replica set, for example, or by some enhancements in the MCM itself. So yeah, but let's
probably.
keep it for a future enhancement.
So currently I plan one future enhancement, and this is zone aware image pool. So it needs contribution to Spegel. Actually, I prepare something, and I was able to test this on GCP infrastructure, but it needs some refinements and tests before open a PR. And yeah, so in the near future, I think we also benefits from this zone-aware image pool to reduce the cross-zonal traffic.
Yeah, so one question from my side, I mean, motivated by the edge cases Bloody brought in, I think we have a lot of cases where it's really depends on on the timing when stuff happens. And as you brought up, Bloody, if you create a lot of nodes at the same time, that might cause problems if you directly go from 0 to 1,000 nodes. And I'm completely with you that the cluster owner most likely they don't really foresee all the details and will not say, okay, I will scale it to 1, then I wait until everything is ready, and then I scale it to 1,000 just to save on the image pool costs, or at least most of them will not. The question is, can they actually, or do you think they can see is monitoring metrics and so on, will that provide all the details so that in case such a scenario happens where we basically say, okay, now it seems like we did something not the optimal way. Do we see that how much we pulled and how much we didn't pull through Spegel?
Yeah, yes, of course. Actually, I think I can show something. So here we have Spegel logs. So we scrape the logs of the Spegel unit, and I also have a dashboard, but with 2 nodes, probably I don't know what will Spegel registry. Not sure why this doesn't show. But yeah, actually it's planned to show the hit rate, miss rate, the total bytes pulled from the registry, cache hit and misses per upstream. Also, this is the number of advertised image tags. So we advertise for, let's say, for the query, we advertise 10 images, 10 image tags, and this is the here. This is the content digests, the number of the image layers. So for the query, we advertise 51 image layers. But maybe I should create additional node here to see something because this is a local setup. And
yeah, okay, all fine. I think the main point for me was just if we can if people don't do the right thing, and maybe they figure out later on that it was not the right thing, if they can at least see what the impact was, so that basically they can improve with the next iteration, that they basically don't do the same mistakes all over again. That's certainly a good thing. So if we have the metrics and monitoring in place, that's the dashboards, and that's good for me. And it seems you have it in place. You don't have a demo setup right now. That's shows it, but that's a difference. Sorry, that's okay in a local setup.
Yeah. Only I wanted to add only last thing about this topic about the MCM. Spegel and registry cache and topics like topology aware routing, they're cost optimization topics, and in my opinion they should not bring performance regressions or failures along the way while they try to optimize the costs. I mean that we should not degrade the performance of how fast 200 cluster nodes join if we try to make them parallel or try to influence MCM or include an order. The same is for example for topology. I think like if we don't have for some reason server in the same zone the client is in, then we don't fail the request. We just fall back to the usual path, try to find any server in any zone, no matter that this will cost cross traffic costs. So yeah, that's my thinking. That I'm pretty sure that they want all of these cluster nodes due to the eventual consistency in the system. Like they won't join exactly in the same time, and I'm pretty sure that Spegel will cost a lot of image layers. Yeah, that was my thinking, that we should not degrade the performance just because of cost savings reasons.
Just one comment, it might not degrade, actually it could improve if you have to pull a lot of images over the network from registry that is hosted far away. This could slow down node creation. And if you pull them from a local cache, it could speed up. So yeah, it's not mandatory, but it could be evaluated whether it makes sense or not. And at least it could be documented whether it makes sense to be implemented or not if it is decided to not pursue these goals. So yeah, it's not the main feature of the extension, just some side cases that could improve a bit here and there eventually.
Okay, so time is up in a few minutes. I would say we should come to a decision. So the proposal is to implement the systemd unit approach with a bootstrapper in the seed control plane. Is anybody not agreeing?
I agree, although I would have preferred to start with the daemon set approach as mentioned in earlier discussions, but I think it's still a sound proposal, and if you want to go optimizing the kube system cache usage, then that's the way to go. Sounds good to me.
Yeah, sounds also good for me. I think we should focus on getting it into a good shape and maybe tackle the edge scenarios we discussed, and we have a lot of fun discussing maybe later, so that we start with a working solution.
Also, I agree on my side with the proposal. Okay.
All right, then we do it as proposed. And yeah, I will publish the recording and the minutes on the website. And we can also yeah. Is there anything that is left for merging the GEP proposal PR? Is everything addressed?
So at least I try to address everything that I see. But yeah, you can double check.
Could you please resolve the comments that you have addressed? That probably is easier then.
Okay.
Okay, then yeah, let's try to merge this PR by end of the week. If you want to have final changes, then mention them maybe today, and then we can get it much later by tomorrow.
Thank
All
you
right.
for taking the time to review the proposal, to provide this valuable feedback in multiple rounds. So I think it's really appreciated on my side, and we managed to improve a lot the proposal with all the suggestions. I'm happy with the latest state.
Yeah, actually, I remember that in the first version, the metric scraping uses a separate systemd unit.
Which
So
was not needed.
yeah. So at the moment,
After
it's,
PR review, we found
yeah.
that it's not needed, and we can make use Prometheus to scrape it naturally.
Yeah, naturally scraping. So I also want to thank all of you for the time, for the review, and yeah, thank you.
Awesome. Then, yeah, let's close the meeting. Have a nice day. See you soon.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you. Bye bye.
Bye bye.
Bye.